On today's episode of Let's Talk Dog Business, we're going to be talking all things storytelling with the power of PR. That is Nicola Rowley. Hi Nicola, thank you ever so much for joining us. So for everybody who is listening out there, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, of course. So I am always been about storytelling. So it's no surprise that I actually trained to become a journalist because all I wanted to do was tell stories. So I started out in broadcasting and used to read the news locally in Buckinghamshire before I went into London. And then I ended up reading the news on Radio 1, Radio 5 Live. And then I moved across and worked for the BBC News Channel as it is now. It was BBC News 24 when I was working there, and I was producing and reporting. And eventually, when I left the BBC, I was the entertainment reporter for BBC Three. And it all sounds very, very glamorous, but actual fact, what happened was it was me and an editor in a windowless room in the bowels of BBC TV Centre, and me just coming up with lots of reports during the day from the entertainment feeds that came down via the agencies. And then occasionally I could get a camera crew to come out with me and we'd go out and we'd actually do some filming, and I'd get to interview celebrities on red carpets, and I'd get to go to film premieres and all of those kind of things. But the problem was, I couldn't see me being the age that I am now, which is 50, standing on a red carpet, sticking a microphone under Simon Cowell's nose. I just couldn't see me doing that for the rest of my life. So I moved across into PR without really knowing too much about PR. I just looked at it and thought, well, strategically, actually, I think that's a better bet, especially if we ever want to move out of London, because at the time, the media was very London centric, and it still is to a certain extent. So I moved into PR, having never written a press release, having never done anything in my life before. But what actually transpired was, because I understood what journalists wanted, I was able to secure all this amazing coverage. And like all of these people that were in PR that had gone straight into a career in PR, working in an agency and everything else, they were like, how are you doing this? But it was because I understood what journalists wanted. So I've now worked in PR longer than I was a journalist. And I was a journalist for 13 years. I think I've worked in PR now for about 15 or 16 years. And I now run my own agency and consultancy, helping other business owners get seen in the media safely through strategic storytelling. Because at the end of the day, everything is about storytelling. It's all about stories, because that's what resonates with people most.
Yeah. Wow. What a career.
I never knew you did all that BBC stuff.
Wow. Yeah. And it's really interesting because I met up with a couple of journalists, and really high profile journalists. And they said to me, you used to be at the BBC and used to do all of these things, and you're a proper journalist, because it's not easy to get in to work in those environments. You have to have a certain amount of tenacity. You have to just be like literally never, ever giving up. I mean, I remember doing night shifts and overnight shifts and goodness knows what else, when all my friends in their 20s were out, going out and having a great time and getting drunk and everything else. There was me reading the news for John Peel on Radio 1 and then trying to stay awake. And the way that I used to stay awake, it was hilarious. I used to do an aerobic session in the studio because it was only me. It was literally me in the newsroom overnight between like 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. on a weekend. So to stay awake, because I was so tired at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd be doing jumping jacks and everything else just to try and stay awake. Oh, yeah. No, it was, I think you have to be really determined and just have like an incredible amount of tenacity to get yourself through working in different newsroom environments. Now, it wasn't just the BBC. I worked at Heart FM. I was the deputy news editor there in London. I worked in Euronews in Lyon in France, and I was doing like TV while I was there and things like that. So yeah, it was a really quite a massive part of who I am and the experience that I have as well.
Yeah. Oh gosh, wow. I feel like we could go into that in so much detail.
Yeah.
But I suppose then, so how do you think that experience has now helped you in the PR world, and kind of what type of clients are you working with in the PR company?
So in terms of PR, what's really interesting, and I really struggled with this for a long time. Anyone that has met me, anyone that has spoken to me at any point will pretty soon work out that I'm a massive empath. And sometimes that doesn't really sit alongside PR, because PR can be seen as very much, oh, it's all about me, or getting myself into, publications, and how does that actually work? And in terms of PR, you're obviously helping promote people. And I really struggled with that, because I was just like, well, why are we helping promote these people? I think that was the thing for me. And it was the sticking point, because when I first looked at moving across into PR, it was a natural thing for me to consider working in the charity sector, because I want to help others. And it's a natural kind of thing for me. And I think so many of us go into our businesses because actually we want to help others. We want to have an impact on other people's lives. And so when I launched my own PR agency, I was just like, right, okay, I'm going to help business owners get seen in the media. It kind of it was okay, but it was only when I wrote my book, The Power of PR, that I got it. It took that writing process for me to realize, actually, Nick, this is what you're meant to be doing, because what you're doing through helping people tell their stories strategically in the media, through what they do, they're then able to reach more people. And then therefore they're able to impact others. And it's a ripple effect where people can find out what it is that you do as a business owner and how you can actually help others. And so it does work for me now. It's about making storytelling, which has been at the core of everything I've ever done, right from age 6. I was like this prolific. I wanted to just tell stories. All the way through my career, it has been a form of storytelling. And now what I do is I help others tell their stories strategically in the media, so that then they're going on and being able to show other people how they can help them, how they can solve their problems. So that is how it all kind of fits together. But at the heart of absolutely everything, it's storytelling through and through.
So what is it about storytelling? Because this is what we tell our clients, that storytelling is the way to get through to people. But what is it specifically that people really like about storytelling?
If you go along to a dinner party, you have a great time, you're like good food, good company, all of those kind of things. But the things that you walk away with from the end of the evening are those anecdotes that someone has told you about that moment when something happened. It's the stories that resonate the most. It's the stories that are now allow you to build that connection with other people. And that is what it is. It's that connection. We are hardwired for connection as humans, to have stories. If you think back to cavemen and women days, that's how they were able to communicate with each other. Like the drawings on the cave, on the cave walls, were all about stories. And that is how we actually communicate the best with each other. So if you are trying to tell someone about something that you do, or something that you offer, or a service that you can provide, if you can wrap it into a story, and it doesn't have to be War and Peace, it just has to be something quite subtle, it will resonate with people. And what that does is it builds the trust. And we all know that when it comes to wanting to work with someone, it's about building trust. So we hear a lot about the know, like, and trust factor. Well, the most important part of that is the trust, and it's about building that. But through telling stories, you get to know people, you get to understand what makes them tick, what are the other things that they talk about. And it's like a underlying messaging. It's like a secondary messaging where you are coming in and you're bringing everything full circle. And if you're able to tell a story, if you think about the media per se, journalists work in stories. They're not interested in hearing about your business. And that's it's a big thing where business owners go in and go, right, okay, I want to be seen in the media and I want to do PR. So I want to talk about my business. And it's like, no, they don't want to talk about your business. I've got an interview lined up this afternoon with a journalist, and she wants to talk to me about how I cured a massive phobia of mine and how I was able to do it. That's got nothing to do with my business, really. But if you're really strategic about it, it's got everything to do with my business because, of course, pure determination, tenacity, I wasn't going to give up. All of the things that I've just said are really important in terms of being a journalist, in terms of being a PR. That is all wrapped up in how I was then able to cure my phobia of spiders. And it's literally, then you wrap it like that. And what you're actually doing is you're telling a story, and then that gets presented to people. And some people will look at that piece of coverage and just be like, oh, okay, so she was scared of spiders, but she's not now. But others will also read into it, right? So what does she do? Right, okay, so she was really tenacious. She never gave up. She was really determined. What does she do? Oh, she runs her own PR agency. Right, okay. And then that's how they connect with you. So it's like breadcrumbing. It's like you're putting out little Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs to get people to the cottage so that they can find you and then work with you.
Yeah. Typically people in probably a lot of industries, but typically our industry really struggle with that concept of storytelling.
I was thinking the exact same thing while she was talking. They can't seem to wrap their head around that. So predominantly, I would say we've got lots of trainers that listen in, and there seems to be, this block that goes, but I'm dog training. So the content I need to put out is me training dogs. In fact, all of my social media platform and any marketing is people at dog training events, like puppy classes and village halls. And you see it all the time. And when we've been going on and looking at people's social media, we're like, I don't even know who the face is behind this business, because you don't see the person, you just see a load of dogs. And we are trying to get that message across that you can't buy from someone that you don't even know what they look like. But there just seems to be this real block, doesn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Of like, I don't understand why I should put a story on. I'm giving you the facts, I'm giving you the figures. You come to me because I'm a dog trainer. I am putting dog training content out. Why are you not engaging with that? Yeah, if I stick a picture up of in-house joke, a flamingo, there is loads of content and engagement and everything off the back of that, but nothing off of the post you have spent ages crafting beautifully so you get all of your key points across. But yeah, it's a real block.
So there's loads of things to say about that. So people buy from people, as you well know. That's like number one. Like, why would they choose you over and above someone else? You have to show your personality. It is no longer any good to hide behind what it is you do. And I see this all the time from so many business owners who want to hide away because, I don't feel comfortable in front of the camera. Tough. Get used to it. Because the more that you do it, the more that people will resonate with you. They're getting to know you. It's really, really important. Not everyone will like you, but the more that they see you over and over again, doing whatever else it is, they trust you as well. And it just works. I mean, I know obviously you're in the canine business and everything else, but for me, a massive part of my secondary messaging is my dog, like 100%. So Rufus, bless him, and he'll probably come wandering in because he can hear his name being mentioned, but he is very much part of my brand and everything else. And I was actually warned against doing this by someone that's in social media quite high up, and they said, don't do it, that you've got your dog everywhere. And I was just like, yeah, but it actually, like, he is part of what I do and everything else. I'm with him every single day. Why would I not put him in there? And of course, you know, the Instagram reels that do the best, the content that does the best, it's pictures of him or him doing daft things, or, you know, him, like, he does this strange thing where he, like, you know, just before he's going to attack a ball, like, especially if it's a football, he goes backwards like 4 steps, waits, and then he goes forward. So that is a brilliant way to then intersperse my messaging in terms of, don't do like, I call him PR dog, don't do like PR dog does and hesitate, go for it. And then, you know, obviously it's all timed with him going for it and everything else. But those kind of reels do really well, as do reels of me with him. I mean, I have lost count of the number of times where if I've, you know, been cuddling him on the sofa and I've just said to my 9-year-old, can you just pick up my phone and just record this? I've asked for it to be recorded, so I've got it. So I've always got that memory. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I'll pop it out with a trending audio on a reel. 2,500 views later. And then people come to me afterwards and say, you do realize that I've come to work with you over and above anyone else in PR because you love your dog so much. That's how it works. They have to see you. Like, they have to understand how it is. Well, first of all, you've got to be an expert in your field. They have to understand how it is that you can help them, but intersperse it with snippets of you as well, you doing things, and don't hide behind the dogs and the training and all the concentrating on, did we get this right? Did we not get that right? Some of the best like reels, I mean, gosh, if you could see like my searches on Instagram are hilarious. All of them. Whenever I turn my phone around and say, look to everyone, dog videos. They're all dog videos. But the ones that do the best are the ones where, like, even the dog's just looking cute or something like that, or you're using a trending kind of audio, or you're doing something. Like, I love the ones where like there's a chap that goes around and he's got like a really big doodle and he puts him in his backpack and then he cycles along and he's got like him and the dog going out to places. Oh my God, I would just watch that content for ages. Would I buy from him? Probably, yes. I don't know what he's selling. He's probably not selling anything, but probably.
Whatever it is, I'll have it.
Yeah, because I resonate with him that he wants his dog to be part of his life and have these incredible experiences. And that when you show that you're heart-led, it's everything. It really is. So
it's interesting, isn't it? I was thinking when you were talking then about how I think I span it on its head a little bit when we had our separate training businesses. And because I was a dog trainer, I didn't actually want to put dog pictures out because I felt like, well, that's it. Even though I've got 2 beautiful dogs that I adore and do all the stuff with, I'm like, it's not really doing much for me. However, as soon as I started talking about my kids and the fact I'm at uni and I'm juggling all this stuff and my heart mission for wanting to do this business and for wanting owners to understand more about their dogs, the inquiries came in off the back of those types of messaging because they were like, oh my God, you do all of that stuff and do dog training. Like, I need you in my life. Whereas if I'd have put a picture up of my dog in our world, it may not have had the same impact, but it's that similarity bit, isn't it? It's like, I just use the kids instead of the dogs.
Yeah, it completely is, but it's messaging. And it's a way of showing people who you are, what you do. I mean, I used to, but I don't as much anymore, like jet off here, there and everywhere. So my day-to-day reality is at home. I do the school run. I walk the dog, I do all my client meetings, I make sure that everything kind of works within the business. But that's what I set myself up as the business, so that I could make it work around my little boy, so that I could be present for him. And that's a huge thing for me, that I've been able to do that. I've got myself out of that corporate rat run of doing the 9 to 5. Not that I used to really do that much of a 9 to 5, because I was always doing shifts, but much more in PR is very much, right, okay, so you start at 8, you finish at 6 on a given day, and then you're expected to be there and sitting there in the office, and so that you are seen. And I've got myself out of that, but I've made it work for us in a way that literally just ticks all the boxes. And that for me is everything. And if I could show other people how to do that as well, like if you can have that freedom and that choice, know that you do have a choice to be able to say, actually, I choose to do it on my own terms, it's perfectly possible, then that's everything. So that's also part of my messaging as well. So you'll always see lots of stories. You won't necessarily see my little boy in lots of the reels, but you'll see him in the stories a lot where we're going out and about. And I tend to keep stories for all the things that we're doing in the day to day. And then the reels are the kind of a bit more business messaging. But of course, PR docs in there every step of the way.
Actually, this follows on really nicely from what I was just about to say, because would you say that's the best way to do it, is to have these stories for your, like the mundane stuff, if that's what you want to call it, about your everyday life and reality, and maybe keep your grid or your, feed for the things that are a bit more sort of business related. The reason I say it is because I follow a lady on Instagram, and she is hilarious, right? She repurposes jewelry, and I don't think it's a huge business or anything like that, but she's such a character. And I follow her and watch her stories simply for her just rambling on about her everyday life. She goes on these walks every morning. She takes the camera with her, and we all feel like we're on the walk with her. And occasionally she'll do a little bit where she's in her studio doing the jewelry and stuff. But if it was only that, I don't think I'd follow her. I don't think I would have that much of an interest in jewelry like that, So would you say that is the best way to do it, is to kind of use those stories in that way?
I think so, because it's about connection, isn't it? Yeah. And actually now you can sell more in your stories than you ever could previously. I think the reels get the views, and they'll grow your audience for you. And keep them short, find a trending audio, make sure you've got a call to action in all of your reels and everything else. But I think with the stories, pepper it with content, allow people to understand who you are, what you're up to in any given moment in time. They're getting to know you. They need to know you before they can even like you, before they can even trust you. And what the media will do as well, taking it one step further, is once you start securing media coverage, that enables the trust. It just skyrockets it. Because if you go onto someone's website who has been featured in the media, and it says as featured in, Woman and Home, and, all of these different places, Metro and Stylists and all of these places. And then you go on to someone else who does a very similar thing, and they don't have that, immediately you're going to trust the others much more, because hang on a second, they have been chosen by those publications as an expert in their field. And journalists don't just choose random people. It is like you have to be an expert in some shape or form to be featured in those publications. And it just gives you that added credibility, the authority, the influence. It means that you are the go-to person. And what that will then do is it means that more people will follow you as a result. And it is a long-term strategy with everything that you do. It absolutely is. But as in terms of making you stand out, it really makes you stand out.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest hurdle, is that it is a long game, isn't it, with these strategies. the email storytelling and the social media storytelling. It's a bit of it's a relationship that's got to grow and build, and people want leads. Like, we get this all the time where people are like, I need people coming in, I need leads, I need new customers, and they want it like that instantly. And when we will,
who doesn't?
oh well, yeah, there is that. But we will sort of allude to the storytelling and the strategies which we use in our business, and people are like, yeah, but that's going to take ages. So it's that quick fix that people really want, isn't it?
Yeah, it's getting worse, I have to say. It's like that instant gratification hit. We all need it like now. When in actual fact, it's much better to have an audience, to build that know, like, and trust factor before you even go in there and start going, right, hello, I'm here, I'm going to sell to you and everything else. I mean, you only need like 100 people before you can go in there and start selling to them. There's no reason why you need like this vast audience and everything else. But people have to get to know you. They're not just going to go, yes, I'll go with you straight away. Why should they? So as much as we're impatient for that success, for that next step, how we can manage to do all of this straight away, it does take time. And when it comes to being in like the online space, wherever you are or whatever it is that you're doing, what you won't have seen is all of the work that's gone on beforehand to get there. So I've been in the online space since 2015. And like loads of people would just be like, well, Nicola, she started a business in 2019 and and it was instantly a success. Well, how did that happen? Because I was building all of the connections beforehand. Now, I didn't do it with that plan in mind. I was still working full time and building my audience, but also talking to people, making really important connections so that when I first opened my PR membership in 2020, September 2020, I immediately had 30 people in there, and then it built from there. But that didn't just happen, and you can't just make things happen. You've got to forge those relationships and get to know people. And there are so many ways that you can do that, of course, but a lot of those will be going along to events, making sure that you're surrounding yourself with other people, getting in front of other audiences, like going into mastermind groups, or if there's an opportunity for you to speak about your expertise somewhere, jump at it. Volunteer to be a speaker somewhere. It doesn't matter. Right in the very beginning, when you're building that awareness about yourself, you've just got to get in front of other people. And a really great way to be able to do this is to borrow other people's audiences who are already established. And that way, you're going to get seen in a much quicker way, in a much bigger way as you go along. But I think there is so much now where people just go, right, okay, so can you help me with my PR? And I want this overnight, like now. And I want to be in all these national publications. And you're just like, well, it takes time to do that. It's not a case that you can just click your fingers and say to a journalist, I know that you were planning on those next 3 issues, scrap everything because so-and-so has just decided that they want to be featured. So therefore they have to be. I mean, the journalist is just going to look at you like, that's not how it works, because it isn't how it works. And yet we think, I've got to be in such and such, and that needs to happen now. And it can't. You literally have to have enough patience to know how to be able to navigate it. And there are ways that you can do it. And there are publications, especially in online and, more nationals and weekly magazines that don't have as much a longer timeline. But it's important to look at the wider element as well and look at the longer term vision. Where is it you want to be? Who is it that you're looking to reach? And do we need that instant gratification all the time? I think that's a really fast track way to burn out myself. And I think that actually it's much better to have a strategy in place and be like, I'd like to be seen in this. So therefore, I'm going to work towards that. I'm going to grow my audience. I'm going to keep showing up as me. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to share valuable content, but I'm also going to show them me as well at the same time. I'm wrapping everything into stories, whether you realize it or not. I mean, even me cuddling the dog, that's a story in itself, because then everyone's kind of like, oh, look, it's PR dog. It's like, that's what she's doing. She's going into the weekend cuddling her dog. But then that's someone else will go, have you seen that girl? She's like, she works in PR, but she cuddles a dog on a Friday night and it's really cute. That then translates into someone following me and then them going, well, actually, I do need PR. She really knows what she's talking about because she used to be a journalist, and she shows us that she used to be a journalist, and she shows us that she used to work in PR as well. Or she now runs her own agency in PR. Do you know what I mean? It's that whole kind of breadth that you can show people. Also, alongside your expertise, have that storytelling inbuilt.
Yeah, it's do you know what I can actually hear some people thinking as they're listening to this is, that all sounds fine and I was going to say dandy. That's a very odd word.
Fine and dandy. It's a phrase.
But that all sounds really good for you because you're in business. We're in dog training. So how can we go and borrow somebody else's audience when we're essentially, air quote, competing for the same thing? I'm like, there's only so many dogs, and we can, and we're trying to do a local area, and we're going out and we're trying to master the locality and go like, I want to be the number one dog trainer in said area. We're really big on collaboration and going, well, you can't be a master of everything. So actually lean into people alongside you and see how you can work together. I mean, it's exactly how Vicky and I met. We wouldn't have done that if we didn't seek that initial collaboration. But can you hear it as well?
Yeah.
I can hear the audience going, this just doesn't relate to me.
Okay. So there's a couple of things that they can do straight away. Collaboration. I'm so glad you said that, because it is absolutely, that's where you need to head. What about local photographers? If you are looking to reach people who are like, they've got a dog, find a local photographer that offers family shoots with pets. Collaborate with them. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to need someone that, like, at some point, the dog is going to need training for something, whether it's a new dog or otherwise. There's a photographic studio not far from where I am that specializes in dog portraits. Like, they'd be the first people I'd be going to and talking to and saying, look, have you got anyone that we might be able to, give a discount to if they come, and if they book a photo shoot with you, they get a discount on dog training? Or are there any, I don't know, there'll be like pet shop owners, or there'll be, groomers. Groomers is an amazing one for your guys, because they'll already have an actual base. And some of the groomers, I mean, most of the groomers I know, they're absolutely booked solid. So they already have a customer base, but some of those dogs will need training. Like, there are a lot of dogs that need training. And actually, I'd argue that every single dog needs training, because what we're actually asking a dog to do is to become more human and to fit into our world. And actually, that's alien to them. So they all need training. So in that respect, if you go to a groomer and you say, look, I'm a local dog trainer, I'd love to partner with you. Could you offer a discount or something like that off my services? And if I can cross-reference anyone to you, I obviously will do. And you work together in terms of being able to help the dog owners, because at the end of the day, it may well be that you do a dog sitting service, and you can get together 3 or 4 of you in a local area, a photographer, a groomer, a trainer, and a dog sitter, my gosh, that's everyone that you would ever need to be able to look after your dog when you need to look after them. You've got this one-stop shop. I mean, that is a business right there, like right sorted for 4 people that come together and can do a massive collaboration, and you can call it a really like cute name and everything else, get your logo out there. That's it. That's how you grow your business. Now, you can grow your business obviously individually as well, but that package where the 4 of you all come together, that's invaluable. And I know from my point of view, I would want that. Like 100% would want that as a dog owner. Instead, what we do is we have very separate, people, and there's no one-stop place where we can go and we can get everything. So right there, I've just given like that is business gold. Like if you could find those people that you can collaborate with, like it's gonna pay dividends. When I used to be, so the other thing that I used to do, I used to be a professional photographer. So I did all the photography in between doing the PR when I was working professionally in PR. And it was never quite enough. It didn't really tick all the kind of creative boxes. And I wanted to earn a bit of extra cash. So what I used to do was photograph weddings and families and everything like that. And a really good tip was look at the brick and mortar businesses that you have on the high street. And say like with estate agents, if you are a photographer, you can offer an estate agent a free family shoot for anyone that buys a house worth £1 million plus through that estate agent, and they would get a free photo shoot with you. Now, it's literally applying that same premise to anything that you do as a dog trainer, that, if they sell a house and it's, the family has a dog and they need dog training, then, this is the person that we recommend. Get yourself on a special, create a local recommended list of suppliers so that you are always seen at the forefront of everything. Like you become part of this incredible thing. Like if you want to do like dog training and everything else, could you do dog walks, friendly dog walks for 2 people or 3 people? Those people are going to get to know you. They're going to want to become clients. And there is just so many ways like this that you can build it out. And I know you guys have probably already done all of this at grassroots level to build your success. But all of this is what you need to be doing in order to get ahead. And then if you layer on top being seen in the media, that's just going to skyrocket your success, because more people are going to hear about what it is you do, how you can help them, how you can improve their lives alongside that of their furry friend. So it kind of all just fits together and works.
Yeah, it's definitely thinking creatively, isn't it?
Yeah. And do you know what I love? Everyone we interview, it always comes back to connection and collaboration and the network that you can build. And I love that you've just talked about it in so many different ways there to encourage people to reach out, because we've got this thing in our industry about people, we call it resource guarding because that's what dogs do, but people resource guard their businesses and don't want anyone in, and they don't want to let people know what they do and give anything away. And, even when I was running classes as we used to do, I used to get a lot of people ask me, I'm training to be a dog trainer, or I'm learning, I'm at college, can I come and just watch your classes, see what you do? And you can guarantee that I was always the only person that would say yes.
I think there still are people. We've had people recently just go, we're really trying to find someone to shadow and no one's letting us do it. I'm like, it's shocking. It's like, how is anybody supposed to get anywhere? Like, we need to start helping each other, and you will grow your business more sustainably and ultimately quicker. May not feel quicker, but in the grand scheme of things, if you were to go down that route rather than try and do, we see people, and I think it's the same across all industries in all fairness, but there's almost kind of going back to that quick fix mentality of, oh, well, I don't have to do the storytelling bits. That is going to take too long. So I'm just going to do the paid advertising and try and get people in there. And inevitably, and I've been there, done it, got a t-shirt, I think we all have, you attract people that you actually don't enjoy working with.
And I think the thing is, it's like, if you think about how you like to look at things. So if you open up a magazine and there's a page advert, how much time do you actually spend looking at that, as opposed to the features that you will see inside that actually tell a story? And you know that I've been there because that person has a good story to tell or some important information to impart. You're much more likely to look at that than a paid advert or advertorial, because you see the words advert, advertorial, and you're just like, skip. I do it with the TV, like, great, skip. You get much more from the credibility and that building of trust than you ever would if you were, just taking out a full page advert somewhere. But I think you're right. In terms of collaboration, I get it 100%. I have a scenario right now where quite a lot of people in the online space, in PR, they're copying me. Like 100%. Like they're all like, one person is putting out a quiz and it's exactly the same as my quiz that's been out there for like years and years. It's just worded slightly differently because but at the end of the day, what you have to do is you have to just rise above it and become the leader in the business. If they want to follow you, if they want to follow you around and try and take whatever else it is that makes you you, they're never going to manage it, because at the end of the day, you are you. Like no one can replicate that. They can't replicate the experience that you have. They can't replicate the way that you make people feel, and they can't replicate your business. They'll fall down like when they try to do it, because they're not being authentic to themselves. So let them copy you. And the thing is, I think I used to see this in photography as well, really badly in photography. And I was desperate at the time to be like, right, I really want to break into wedding photography, but I don't want to go out there unless I've actually got a couple of weddings under my belt. And I don't want to be doing that on paid weddings. I want to be able to shadow other photographers. And so that's what I did. But there were only two that would allow me to do that. None of the others would allow me to do it. So I know exactly where they're coming from. What I think is the way forward for all of this is, if you are so worried about other people taking the things that you do, look at collaborations with other people that do similar kind of things. They're in a similar industry, but they're not exactly the same. So you're not going for the same clients, or you're not going for, exactly the same things. You're complementing each other rather than you're in competition with each other. But you're right. I mean, collaboration, really, we need to get better at it and stop the resource guarding. We have a lot of resource guarding at this end. So I know exactly where you're coming from in terms of PR dog. And it's about managing that as well, in terms of actually, let's be a little bit more open, because no one can ever replicate you. They never are going to be you. And there are enough clients to go round for everyone. There always are.
Absolutely. It reminds me of a story of when I was running classes at a certain venue and I stopped running them there. And then within about a month, there was another dog trainer that had taken my slot. They had changed the name of their class to something really similar. And I remember one of my friends contacting me and saying, have you seen that these people have come into your hall? And I was like, well, it's not my hall. And it's not my hall anyway, but it's not my hall anymore. I'm not using it. But it looks like they're trying to be you. And I was like, well, let them. I honestly don't care. I know it's like I'm me and I do things very differently from the next person. And I've never been worried about things like that. But a lot of the people in our industry are hugely worried about it and have the fear about it and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't know whether it's just because I'm that sort of person, or whether it's, there's a certain reason why people feel like this. But it is, if people just kind of relaxed a little bit more about it, and that's easy for me to say, isn't it? They would open themselves up to a lot more opportunity. I feel.
I think
Ultimately, it will hold them back. Like that's the thing. At the end of the day, if you are so closed off to being able to, you know, work alongside someone else or do other things, it will hold them back. A PR as an industry, I'm not a massive fan of. I have to say, like, I will 100% put that on the record. I'm not a massive fan because it does feel like it's very much each for their own. And that may well be the same in the dog training industry. I don't know, but I find it a shame that you can't collaborate, that you can't do things without people feeling the need to always like, oh, what's she up to? What's going on? And I think there's a difference between doing some research on a competitor and then copying what someone is doing, you know. And I think fair play to you that you are that way and that you can just be like, no, that's fine. They're never going to be me. I'm having to learn to do that. It doesn't come naturally to me at all. But I think that's, you know, it's how much you've been burnt by people in the past, I guess, so that then you understand like where you're coming from. But yeah, I much prefer to collaborate. And it's why I spend most of my time introducing my clients to journalists so that they can then go on and get their own coverage. I could be very much like, these are my contacts, you're not going to have them. But that doesn't benefit anyone. And at the end of the day, because I am all about lifting other people up and being able to take them on a journey, the only way they're going to be able to reach more people is if they know the contacts that I know, and then they can secure more coverage, and then it becomes a bigger thing. And it's part of a whole collaborative approach to doing everything.
Yeah, love it. Can you clarify? So you called it secondary messaging earlier, didn't you, when you're talking about your dog? So secondary messaging, for everyone listening, is anything other than what your business is about. Is that right?
Yeah. So your primary messaging is, you know, hi, I'm Nicola. I work in PR. I'm a PR expert. I specialize in strategic storytelling because that's what it's all wrapped in and everything else. Secondary messaging is, hello, it's PR Dog. I'm going to do a daft video. I travel a lot. Let me, you know, here's my son. He is like me as a mum, balancing everything. And sometimes I'll bring that secondary messaging into, like, you know, when we were talking about doing reels, that secondary messaging will sometimes come in there. Like if we were on holiday or something like that, I will put that secondary messaging in front of my audience because it's really important that they get like a rounded kind of view of who you are. But it's how you will connect with people more and you will grow your audience in a much bigger way as a result.
So that secondary messaging could be anything to do with their life, any hobbies they've got, anything they enjoy doing, social stuff, anything at all like that.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously you have to like try and think about, like, you know, the brand as an overall. What is it that you want to say? What is it that you want people to know? I don't put all of my entire life out on social media, far from it. There are things that go on that I wouldn't actually share. But for the most part, like, you know, say I'm going to the cinema with my little boy, I'll put out a story about that. Or if I'm going on a very long walk or PR Dog does something hilarious or something like that, we'll turn that into content and make that work for us because that actually fits together. I mean, a good example of bringing the two together, when I first brought out my book, I literally put a copy of the book on the stairs and PR Dog did this really fun, like it was hilarious. He literally just like pointed at the book with his paw. And I was like, genius, if I can find a track that will actually work with that, it's brilliant. And there was a trending audio that just said, check it out. And at the exact point where I lined it all up and everything else, he was just like, check it out. And it was like, and then he just looks at the camera and then he wanders off. I mean, that is your secondary and your your primary messaging, primary and secondary, just combined into one right there. And I used to do things like PR Doc says and all this kind of stuff. I mean, like, it's actually got to the point where someone said to me, his name is PR Dog, right? And I was just like, no, his name's Rufus. And they were like, oh, no, we wanted to see you. And this is what I've been asked for this a couple of times now. We want to see you running across a field calling out PR Dog, with him running around like a crazy dog in the background. But that for them is like, you know, what a great video that would make. And I was just like, this is hilarious. People actually think that his name is PR Dog. But again, like, you know, the more you talk about things, the more people resonate with it, the more that they take it on board, and, you know, it sticks. But that takes time, right? You can't just do that and then go, right, I've put out 2 videos now. That should be it. Consistency is key. If we want success, you've got to consistently show up. You've got to consistently be telling people what it is you want them to know. And you've got to consistently be showing them all of the things that fit under your brand, align with your values and your vision and your mission, and then that's when you'll have the success.
I was just thinking this.
She said the scary words.
Yeah. I was just thinking this as you were talking then, because we talk a lot about purpose and why and vision, mission, and
just been
values.
writing it down in our book.
Yeah, we have. And I feel like it all just, that comes together really nicely. But unless you know who you are, how can you possibly then give out any content and let people know about you? It's part and parcel, isn't it? You can't have really one without the other to do it successfully.
It's this full circle problem all the time, isn't it? That everybody has, in that they go, oh, do you know what? I've decided I'm going to be a dog trainer, and I am going to look around and see what other people are doing. And, oh, they're doing 3 sessions for 300 quid. I'm going to do it at 270, because then I can get in. And now I need to do some social media messaging. So I'm going to go, I'm a dog trainer. I can do this, bang it out. Oh shit, no one's buying anything. I want to put another one out. And like, you don't know the whole purpose of your business. You're going to really struggle with your messaging, aren't you, if you haven't done that work previously? And I think this is where a lot of people struggle when they're seeking support in their business further down the line, because it's become ingrained on how they've done things for the last however long they've been doing it. And now all of a sudden we're going, tell a story. And they're like, oh, this just sounds really fluffy. How does that translate into bringing the money in? God damn it.
But it comes down to the building the trust. At the end of the day, you can't, like, if you think about when you meet someone for the first time, you have to look at it like this, right? So someone has come across your feed or your business in some shape or form. So they're meeting you for the first time. Do they trust you straight away? No. Would you trust a stranger that you meet for the first time? No. What you would do, you might have a lovely conversation. It might make you feel like, that was a really lovely conversation. I really like that person. And then you see that person again. And then you have another lovely conversation. You're thinking, that person's really nice. Or, you know, maybe next time if I see them, I might like to go for a coffee with them. So that's what you do. Like the third time you meet someone, you say, would you like to come for a coffee? Yeah, okay, that's fine. You're getting to know each other. Then you start liking them because you're just like, oh, she's a really lovely person. I really like this person. I think we're going to become friends. But the trust comes much later. It comes much later because you can't just go around willy-nilly trusting everyone. But if they've been featured in the media, because that third-party endorsement has already happened, you're much more likely to trust them quicker. So it's going to get you there quicker. And if you're starting to look in terms of kind of, you know, that storytelling piece, that's going to help you too.
Love it.
What would you say to somebody who might be listening to this or watching this thinking, no one wants to know about my life?
Okay, well, number one, you need to do some work on your mindset. That's the number one thing. Absolutely. Because I think I get so many people come to me and say, oh, I don't have a story. But everyone has some kind of a story. Now, some will work better for the media than others. Some people won't want to share certain things, and that is 100% fine. You don't have to share anything that you don't want to share. You are fully in control of that. And it's really important to remember that. However, there will be things like I've had people come to me before now, and I've been talking to them and they're like, I don't have a story, but I want to talk to you anyway. And let's see if I do. And I'm like, where are you working? And she's just like, oh, I'm working in the caravan on the driveway of my home. And I said, well, did you move in there by any chance to work from there during lockdown when the kids were off school and everything else was going a bit haywire? That's exactly what happened. I needed headspace to work the business. So I moved into the caravan. There's your story. And then she's just like, really? And I was just like, yep, get a photographer to go along. And it becomes like a massive picture in the sun. But she was just like, well, what pictures are they going to take? And I said, well, do me a favor. Before the photographer turns up, make a sign. On the sign you put, do not disturb, Mum working. And the first thing you do when the photographer turns up is you go, I've made this sign. And she was just like, I'm going to feel like a numpty. I was like, do it anyway. So she does it, bless her. Guess what the picture was? A massive, great big picture of her holding up her do not disturb Mum working sign in a caravan. And what then also transpires, there were two other people featured in that feature. And one of them had built a £35 million lash business. I mean, like, that's incredible. But the one that resonates the most is the mum that's escaped from the kids, who's had to get into the caravan or the driveway of her home. Guess what? That's the one that they highlight. They don't highlight the lash business because everyone's going to get it. The readership of The Sun are going to get that. And they're going to be like, yes, to the mum doing the great thing in the caravan. So everyone has a story. And if anyone ever says to me like, no, I don't have a story. There's another one where a lady came to me. She said, no, I don't think I have a story at all. And then 2 minutes before the end of our session together, she said, oh, and there's this radio station. I was like, well, what radio station? And she was just like, oh, yeah, I've transformed the garage at my home into a radio station, and it's all professionally done. And but obviously my background's radio. So I said, well, send me some pictures so I can see this. And it was a proper radio station she'd have built in her garage at her home. And I was like, what do you do? And she was like, oh, I go live Monday to Thursday for an hour a day between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. And I broadcast positive messages to help people get started their day in the right way. Wow. If you're living in Edinburgh, that will sort your mindset out for a start, like having positive messages coming at you and helping you to start your day in the right way. And we got her featured everywhere because that was a story. That was the story, but she didn't think it was a story. And sometimes we can't see what the stories are. It takes a journalist, someone that's worked in the media for a really, really long time to be able to spot the stories, spot the angle that will work, and then be able to then get you that coverage. So everyone always has some kind of a story. And if you don't want to go down the story route, go down the I'm an expert route. And I will be able to tell you some tips about top ways that you can, save your dog if the dog is reactive or your dog is anxious or you're worried about leaving your dog for the first time. There are always ways that you can manage to make this work.
Love it. I love it. I feel like we could talk about this all day.
And me. Yeah, absolutely. I've loved this conversation. I think it's going to be so helpful for people. Yeah. And it kind of is echoing everything that we're trying to say to our clients that they maybe are finding a little bit difficult to really grasp and understand. So
basically, if you're not listening to us, listen to these other
experts.
Listen
to this expert here. She knows what she's talking about.
Same thing.
Yeah. Oh, Nicola, I think, definitely we could just keep talking, but I think we will leave it there. We are going to ask you one more question though, before we finish. Who do you know that could come on our podcast and help us spread our message even more? From any walk of life, any industry that will align with our kind of vision and what we're trying to do.
It's a good thinking.
You mentioned about people struggling with their mindset. And I think that that's foundational. Your messaging, your positioning, all of the things that PR help you with, that's foundational too. But I think getting your mindset sorted, that's key. So I recommend Charlotte Carter. And Charlotte Carter runs a company called I Dare to Leap that tells you everything you need to know. She's got a dog called Dexter. So she gets what it's like to have from a pup. And I think she'll accept that she was inspired by PR dog. There's a few of them that have been inspired by PR dog, and then it's messaged me and gone, blimey, this is hard work, isn't there? But yeah, I think Charlotte Carter, in terms of nailing that confidence, nailing that messaging, like in terms of that internal messaging, what you're saying to yourself in order to you to get to that next step where you're like, I have self-belief, I'm going to do this. And then you take all of the steps that we've featured in this episode. Because until you believe in yourself, you're going to listen to this episode and you'll be there going, yeah, okay, all right, Nicola. Yeah, I hear what you say. It's easy for you. I can tell you for nothing, it's not been easy. But also, I was the person doing the aerobics at 3 a.m. for John Peel. So I know what it takes and how much hard work it can be to get to where you want to get. Just don't let anything stop you. And I think having that unstoppable mindset, Charlotte Carter is the person to help you unlock that.
Right, we've written that down. So we will be contacting Charlotte about it. Yeah, brilliant. So Nicola, if people want to find out a bit more about you and what you do and how you can help people, how do they do that?
I'm always on Instagram at Nicola J. Rowley PR. You will see all of the videos with PR Talk. They are hilarious. And also my website, nicolaRowley.com. We have a corporate agency as well, njrpr.com. But yeah, I'd say Instagram is the best place to be able to find me. And if you're wondering whether or not you are ready for PR, take our free quiz. It's pr-quiz.com, and it will tell you, it will give you a report that will say how ready you are, what elements you might need to look at. It will just help you start thinking along the right lines of, okay, so I might need to work on this a little bit more before I then start doing X, Y, Z.
Awesome. And we'll put those links in the show notes so people can click on those.
Fabulous. Well, thank you everybody can't even say it now. Thank you everybody for listening to our episode today. We hope you enjoyed it, and please give us a like, follow and share.